Don't know if anybody else's Instagram's doing this really annoying thing at the minute where when you load up your feed, the first post that's there is somebody that you don't follow, and sometimes it does work out for the best because you get some really good boobies, but other times you get some absolute helmet that you've got absolutely no interest in watching or listening to. And that's been the case with me, where I've had somebody who keeps coming up and he is probably the most cringiest and fattest guy on Instagram and giving the absolute worst advice on Instagram, and I just want to come on here and set the record straight because you absolutely cannot listen to him under any circumstances. His name's Nick something or other, and I've done a few reactions to him before he's ended up with his like cult following, and the first time I ever actually seen him was my mate sent me one of his reels saying this guy's like a discount version of you, and definitely don't see that at all. He'd said some outlandish stuff, and a lot of it revolved around his mental bulking journey that he's going on, where he's went on like a 30 kilo mad bulk, and for whatever reason people like watching him. I've not got a clue why. His advice is garbage, he's cringy as fuck. I just need to come on here because I do feel like a lot of the people that he's aiming his content towards are probably a lot of the people that will watch my content and maybe come to me for coaching, the people who, you know, want to get big and strong and still have a good physique. We've just got two totally different ideologies about it. However, my ideology isn't just fucking stupid and lacks all semblance of logic, and his is more just kind of like, oh, let's just be entertaining and get the bulk in and all this stuff. And obviously if you've watched me for any length of time at all, you know I'm very anti-bulking because I've been there myself before. I know a lot of the mistakes that I made that just weren't beneficial that a lot of people still make, and that's why a lot of the people that work with me are just like trying to reverse a bulking disaster where they have just done the turbo bulk, fucked all their progress, and then we've had to undo the work. He seems to think it's a good idea to promote this style of dieting, and I'm just going to basically go and just systematically break down everything that he's been saying, and specifically a video response that he made to Greg Doucette, who reacted to him. And I'm just going to make sure you do not listen to any of his stupid fucking advice, and make sure you understand what an actual bulk should or shouldn't look like. And before I start ranting, make sure that you like and subscribe. And my videos are normally mostly positive, but if there is something absolutely moronic that I see, I can't help myself but call it out. You will hear those call outs. You will also hear some videos where you actually get the proper information on how to build muscle and get stronger. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Now, Nick here claims to be a coach, and the first red flag for me is that when you are a coach and you're offering your services to people, of which I imagine they're going to be paying you for said services, if you do not have a single shred of evidence of anybody that you have successfully coached on your page, and literally your page is video and video and video and picture after picture of you and only you and nobody else who supposedly you can coach to get results, then I feel like that's a bit of a problem. You maybe don't have to be like me where you're posting clients several times a week, but I feel like the baseline should be at least one, maybe even two. Just like have a few people on your page that you can say like, see all these things I'm telling you, they work because look how it's worked with these guys here, and maybe has got like a big catalogue of results that he's just not posted, which in itself I feel like would be a little bit weird that you're not showing evidence of the thing that you claim to do. I'll even just try and give him the benefit of the doubt here and say that he just doesn't post his results for whatever reason. But the reason I'm probably pretty confident that he's got no results is because his approach to dieting and bulking is absolute fucking garbage. Now, I'm going to give him a little bit of credit before I tear into him, and that's that, see what I've seen him talk about training? It's actually not bad. Actually, his stuff that I see him doing in the gym, I think it's pretty effective, and I can see that he's obviously a strong boy, so good for you, mate. But his approach to dieting and bulking is potentially the worst that I've ever seen. And his whole thing is, in order as a natural for you to build muscle, you must continue to bulk and bulk and bulk and stuff yourself when you're not hungry, and just keep eating and just keep seeing the scale go up, because if you don't do that, it's impossible to build muscle as a natural. But what he has done is he has taken his bulk so far that I am telling you right now, he's carrying an absolute minimum 10 kilos of extra crap. There is an extra 10 kilos of body fat there that is not doing him any good. It's not made him build any more muscle. It's not made him get any stronger. And I'll explain a little bit how it's probably actually done the opposite of that. He's just taken it far too far, and it's a bit of a laugh and a joke and ha ha ha, but the problem I've got is when you're actively encouraging other people to go and do it and telling them this is what you need to do, that's when it becomes not funny and you just being an absolute Now he's homing in on the whole natural thing and saying that it's because he's natural that you need to do this, and you don't need to look any further than finding the most anti-drug guy that you'll ever meet in myself, and I can tell you as an absolute matter of fact that his argument is still a lot of pish. He is, in all honesty, close to like 30% body fat at this point, and regardless of what percentage you want to put on it, when you've got visible jiggly tits when you speak, you are too fat. Just end of story. And a lot of that extra body mass that he's put on has done fuck all to benefit him. Now the catalyst for this whole video, which I feel like this far into the video I should probably tell you, is because Greg Doucette made a reaction video to him, which I've seen because I follow him, and then Nick's reaction to Greg came on the top of my thing, and he did come almost close to making a few semi-intelligent points, but he's still miles off it, and I'm just going to go through systematically and break each one down. Now the first point he said is that because as he's continued to gain weight, his strength has continued to climb up as well, that he's not just gaining fat and he is still gaining muscle, because getting stronger is an indicator of muscle growth. And that's 100% right, and I say it all the time that in principle, if you are getting stronger, you in all likelihood are building more muscle. But the whole point that he's missing is that he could have gained the same amount of muscle while either taking his bulk at half the rate of gain, or maybe stopping the bulk and trying to chase the scale like 10 or 12 kilos heavier. Like, muscle growth would still occur, and it's this whole big thing that to maximize muscle growth you need to be in a constant calorie surplus, like continually going up, and it's just a lot of shite. You can gain muscle while being in a small calorie surplus or in maintenance, and you just need to kind of think about this logically, that over the course of any sort of growth phase, you're not going to be in a constant surplus. Like, the scale won't go up like every single day or every single week. You will have periods where it just stagnates a wee bit, and by that logic, on those days to days or weeks to weeks, then there would be no muscle like being grown. And it's only on the days where you are in that like surplus where you put on like 0.2 or 0.3 of a kilo, it's like only on those days where the new muscle's being built, and it's just a lot of pish. And he said it himself, if you're getting stronger, you're building muscle, and by his logic, it'd be absolutely impossible to get any sort of strength gain while eating at maintenance or even in a surplus, and that's why you can gain muscle even in a calorie surplus. Is it harder? Absolutely. Should you be doing it if your absolute main focus of your training is muscle gain? Of course not. But there is a line between under eating to the point you're in a deficit and ramming your face full of fat fucking food because you think eat big, get big. And he tried to highlight the fact that on this current bulk that he done a 290 kilo deadlift, which was a PB he's never done before, and fair fucking play, it is very strong, can't deny that. However, what I'm telling you for a matter of fucking fact, that because of the amount of crap he's carrying, he'd have been able to do that same deadlift, but I would say pretty comfortably 7 to 10 kilos lighter. Like, that extra fat that he's put on is not helping him lift the bar. You can argue and say that like the extra mass just helps stability and all this stuff, but it's not functional muscle tissue. Please believe me, there is so much extra crap there that it's doing absolutely no good at all for his performance. And if you think all that extra body fat is purely going to help your performance, you've got another thing coming. What's more likely going to happen is you're going to feel sluggish all the time, you're going to feel tired because your body's just constantly trying to digest all this food. You're never going to go into the gym with that wee pep in your step, and it's going to have a reverse effect on you. And what will also happen is that you'll gain an unproportionate amount of weight to actual muscle and strength that you gain, and then you actually become pound for pound weaker and not actually stronger, which for me, I feel like that's probably the most important thing. I love lifting heavy as much as the next person, and I don't know about you guys, but I would much rather be sitting 10, 15 kilos lighter and lose 5 kilos on my deadlift to have an actual physique and be pound for pound more strong than just get as fat as I can to lift as much as I can, because it's just not as impressive. He then goes back to the roid argument and says that lean bulking only works for people that take gear and it's too hard to do for natural guys, and that's just a lot of crap. That's just a stupid non-statement, because building muscle in general, however you do your dieting, is easier when you're on steroids. And I could give you umpteen different examples of people I've coached who have managed to lean bulk or main gain or whatever word you want to put on it. Just reverting back to the steroid argument, as much as I will use it in a lot of cases when I do generally think it's right, it's not just this some smoke shield that you can kind of throw up just whenever it suits to try and deflect off your stupid logic. And his last argument, which is probably the best and only kind of point you could ever actually make to kind of get yourself out of this hole, is that he says, well, it works for me, and that's just what I've done, and he recited some of what's happened in history when he's like bulked and cut. And what I'd say to that is, yeah, nobody's saying that it's not worked to a degree, but what we're saying is that it would work better if you didn't just get yourself so fat. And again, just going back to the technical points of it, he's saying you need to bulk to build as much muscle as possible, but the longer you bulk, the longer you're going to have to cut. And then the likelihood is your cut goes on longer, your cut goes on harder, you then lose a lot of that extra muscle you built. So you may as well stop earlier, and you'll either get to the same point net the same, or if you're doing it slower and more disciplined, you're going to end up with a net more amount of strength and muscle. And you lose the whole "it works for me" argument when it's all you just bang on about to other people and that's what they should do. And I will fully admit, I don't watch all or even a fraction of his videos, and maybe he does put a bit of nuance into it sometimes and say it may not work for you, you may want to try this, you may want to try that. He poo-poos anything else and he says this is the only thing that'll work. So you can't say it's the only thing that'll work but then say, oh no, this is just what I do, this is just like my wee thing that works for me. And I say this having been there myself before. The whole you need to bulk as hard as you can to gain muscle and strength is such a straw man argument. It does take a little bit more nuance, and it is obviously a little bit harder and more disciplined to lean, bulk or maintain or whatever. And I just feel like my duty and responsibility as a coach isn't just to encourage you to take the easy option that's not really that difficult to do, at least part of it anyway, and eating as much as you can. But it's to help guide you through the better option, which yes, may be a little bit harder, but please believe me, in the long run, you will absolutely regret turning into a fat, tubby bastard, and you will not regret continuing to gain muscle and get stronger whilst having a good physique that you always feel comfortable in. And just to prove that, I'll continue to post my clients doing that very thing and continuing to get stronger, continuing to build muscle and just always improving and looking better without ever getting fat. So I had to get that off my chest, and there's a few other frauds circling my radar just now, and if they continue to spew shite, I will be here to call them out on it. You're probably always going to hear about any call out first on my Instagram, so make sure that you follow me on there, and that's where you'll see all my main stuff. This is just like secondary to that, although it's still class, so make sure that you are like and subscribe. It does go a long way to help grow the channel, and we're soon at 1 million subscribers, so you want to obviously make sure you're part of the first 1 million on the best page that's ever existed. I'm going to go and eat a tub of Pringles. I'll catch you soon.